Hi everybody on Twitch and YouTube and Cake. So somehow they revoked my permissions to stream on Streamlabs on TikTok. So yeah, I'm doing it over my phone. For anybody that's on my TikTok, I have to do this on my phone, and then here I got my Twitch and YouTube people. It's always something. Can never just be cool and chilling. Nope, can't. Always gotta be some bullshit going on, but anyway. So yeah, how's everybody doing? I've been kind of off for a couple of days. I took a little break. But I am here now, and I hope I'll see some of you guys. But my streams have been very slow, so I'm not trying to get my hopes up. That's why I haven't streamed, because not many people have been coming into my stream at all. So I'm not gonna sit here and talk to my fucking self, you know what I'm saying? So that's for sure. A lot has happened. I do want to say, actually, the first thing that I want to say before anything else, I am really positively surprised, and I want to say, you know, I don't know who's gonna see this, you know, or not, but I want to say thank you to all the people across the U.S. that have been protesting in the name of people such as I. That is very courageous and very thoughtful. And it makes me, you know, it makes me hopeful. As like, you know, as shallow as that may sound, but it's like, there are actually people out there that are not in my position that understand though what's happening to people like us, and so they're out there protesting for us to save our lives that we have built in the U.S., to save us from, you know, whatever uncertain and bad future we might face, you know. And I'm like, thanks. Thank you to everybody that is out there and is protesting and putting their life in danger. I wish, you know, I mean, I could do the same, but there's a lot at stake for me, you know. Not being a U.S. citizen wouldn't just get me thrown in jail; it would potentially get me deported. So, it's not. There's only one thing I fear in my life, and that's being separated from my brother. So, if somebody wants to call it fear, yeah, I can admit that. I can admit that's a fear that I have. So, the only fear I have, really. So, that's why I'm not doing the same thing. Not to mention that, you know, these protests are happening in large cities, which the next larger city would be Orlando, and I have no way of getting there anyway. But again, I'm like, the American people are understanding of you know, our freedom, our democracy, potentially our economy being under attack by these decisions made by the government momentarily, and they're getting into, you know, fighting mode, so to say, you know. Of course, you know, I'm never, like, as I consider myself a radical and a purist and an extremist myself, okay? Not gonna lie, I do consider myself that. However, I am a firm believer in diplomacy, and I don't think that people that are rioting and looting are you know, they're not seeing this through. Okay, and I'm not, I can't in all good conscience sit here and say, hey, yeah, you know, good job, destroy stuff, because it's not proactive, it's not like constructive to do that, you know. That's not going to help anybody's cause, it's just going to condemn, you know. So Trust me. If anybody understands the frustration here, it's me. But we want to remain on the right side of the law that was designed by empathetic, compassionate, and logical beings, and destroying property and doing things like that is just not, it's not going to help the cause, right? But being out there in numbers and making your voices heard, and having signs like that's what we've been doing for generations. That's what our parents have been doing. That's what that's how we change things, when we stand up together as people and we defend ourselves against our freedoms and our lives being under siege. So yeah, I am actually kind of envious and jealous that I cannot partake and that I cannot be there. It was the same thing back then when there were the giant women's walks and the women's protests, and I couldn't be there either. And it really always like kind of saddened me, because I missed those times that will forever be implemented in the zeitgeist of history, and I although I was alive during that time, I was not able to partake. But hopefully in the future I will be able to, but we will see. But again, I really do want to make this my mission today, to keep all of those people that are doing this for me, and for people that are in my position. They're in my heart, and they're also giving me the push to not give up. They're giving me that little extra motivation that I need, like, to not give up. So I want to thank you all again for going out there and making your voices heard, and protesting the blatant attack on our lives, that is being made. And yeah, I appreciate you more than I can even say, and I hope that somebody sees this, or maybe somebody will see this video someday and know that I was out here, so appreciate this. Hi Pain, how are you doing? Ah. I'm alright. Hanging in there, hanging in there. My, like I said, for some reason, like, my rights to stream on TikTok through Streamlabs have been revoked or some shit. And I don't know what's going on there, but I gotta use my phone now to stream on TikTok, which is fucking aggravating, but it is what it is. But yeah, I got the cards here. If anybody wants a reading, let me know. I'm gonna be here for whatever, an hour or whatever. If I don't get any hits, any people coming in within an hour, I'm gone. I'm a goner. So if you want a reading, let me know. Please like and share the stream, and please follow me. Go ahead, Templar. Not sure what that means. What'd you get at the store, Payne? My mic is staticky. I don't know how. I might have it too hot, I don't know what that is. It might be too high or something. I don't know. Good afternoon, Samika. How are you doing? Let me know if you want a reading. Might also be the sound of my window AC. Could be. My nose has been... God damn it. Yeah, it's wired. I don't know. I doubt it. It's been in the same position always. But I have to see if anybody else comes in and they can tell me if that same thing is happening to them. Because then it's on my end. Because it's been in the same... Because, like, you know... That should not be the issue right now. If it's anything, it's a digital issue. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know what it can be. I don't want to unplug it now and then mess up my sound completely. I don't know. How's everybody doing? If you want a reading, please let me know, guys. That's what I'm here for. Please follow, like, and share. I'm not even gonna say nothing right now. Thank you for following, Angie. Thank you so much. Ooh. Well, that's good, Payne. At least you're not sitting at home like me with the fucking ceiling falling down on my head. Because that's what it feels like. Yeah, see, I hate doing this shit over my phone, but I have to do it over my phone because they took my rights to stream over Streamlabs from TikTok. It's bullshit, bro. Let me see something. I'm gonna check something with the sound pan because yeah, that's how I am too. It depends. Yeah, it was all like everything there, everything no problem was all hooked up in my Streamlabs, and I come back today after 2 days and it says, oh, your rights have been revoked, or you don't have access or something. So I applied for access again. So it says it takes 1 day for them to get back to me and give me the decision or whatever. So I don't know. Hi, the cool one. Hi, Tina Lee. Hi, everybody. Um, Daisy B. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with that. So I'm using my phone. My phone's down there. So I'm using my phone to be on TikTok, and then my Streamlabs over the computer. It's fucking stupid. Check, check. I don't know if that did anything or not. Trying to figure out what I changed recently that could cause this sound to be weird. I don't know. Hi, Raina. Hi, Deb, Mommy. Hi, Angie. Ah. Susan or Suzanne, The Diary of T.W., Mary, Hutron, Daisy. See, it's so weird. Like, I'm totally like live on my TikTok here. Like, so why is it not allowing me on my Streamlabs? That's what I don't understand. Like, I'm live on my TikTok right now through my phone, but it's not allowing me to go live through my Streamlabs. Like, what the fuck is that? That's so stupid. Hey, Steven, how are you? What the fuck? What is going on here? And now it's telling me I'm not even live anymore. What is going on with this? This whole thing is fucked up. But I have noticed in the past, like, TikTok seems to have these weird problems. Like, Like, it just kicked me out of my own stream, basically. What the fuck is that? Saying that I'm not even on, or telling me the next stream is kind of, I'm like, what? It's fucking crazy, dude. Whatever, I'm here. I mean, this is telling me I'm here. So how's everybody doing? Again, I do want to say, I said it earlier, thanks to everybody that's been like out there and protesting it for the likes of myself. It's huge. It means a lot. It means people are starting to finally understand. Because I'm telling you, I've been walking through this bullshit for almost 20 years now, with the immigration problems. And throughout the 20 years, I've met very few, I mean, virtually nobody, really, that understood the problematic, like, you know, scenario that's being caused by the unrelenting, you know, and impossible immigration system we have here in this country, right? People have never understood. Now people are seeing, because now we have a president that pushes the issue into the direction of, like, you know, going to spread more hatred and diversion, you know, in the guise of, you know, certain people thinking that it's that he's doing the right thing, right? Because ignorance, you know, whatever, people that are not educated enough to understand. But so people are finally starting to see what's going on and are going out there and protesting for people like me. And it means more than I can put into words. It means there's a shift, there is a change, there is, yeah, I smell revolution in the air. And I really hope that it progresses, and I really hope that it can push lawmakers. It can push lawmakers to do the right thing, you know? No, that's not true. The people that are actually, if you look at the not just the people that are rioting and looting, because those people are actually not advocating for immigration reform. These people are actually just there to cause destruction. They have no, to them, it's just an opportunity to cause destruction. The majority of the people that are protesting are peacefully protesting for change and trying to make people understand that what's happening right now is unconstitutional. It's against human rights. It's against everything that America stands for, and that is the majority of people. Those people also do not support the looters and the rioters. I have watched multiple interviews now with people from the protests, and you know, each and every one of them is very clear on the fact that they're not partaking in looting and rioting, but that they're there to make their voices heard, and, you know, acting out their right as an American citizen to protest against these, you know, unrightful actions taken by the government. Of course, anybody that's violent and anybody that causes destruction, if the police steps in, that's what they're for. That's their job. I also said earlier that you know, rioting and looting and destruction is not going to help the cause at all. It's just going to, you know, anybody that's doing that has misunderstood, if they're even, you know, on the side of the spectrum that people claim they are, which I'm pretty certain they're not, but they're not doing, this is not constructive for the cause, you know. So anybody that's breaking the law by, you know, destroying property or harming other people, the police arrest them. Of course, because I mean, that is pretty much the same thing that we're fighting against. So anybody that does that is not fighting for the same thing that I think we should be fighting for, and that we are in the majority fighting for. Hi, Sensei. How are you? No, that's actually also against the Constitution to use military forces against their own people. It is also completely unnecessary, and it's just a show of like, it's just Trump ruffling his feathers, trying to show everybody he's the big man, and trying to show everybody that he will force you, uh, even if you're a free American citizen, he will force you to recant your rights, basically. There's no necessity for the National Guard nor the Marine Corps to be deployed there, because the police force of Los Angeles has control over the situations. The rioters are being, it's not even on a scale that something like this would warrant any kind of like show of force in that magnitude. It's absolutely like outrageous and ridiculous, and like that like courts will have to step in on that too, because I know that other lawmakers are going to fight against this type of behavior by the president, and you know again, like, we're going to do what we can do to stop like this weaponization of military against their own people. That's crazy. That's crazy. And again, completely unnecessary, because it's happening in smaller areas that are under control by police force. Everybody is in awe, and nobody understands what is going on, why this is happening. But we understand why this is happening, why they're being deployed there. Again, the show of force, like that. The president saying, "I will force you to recant your rights as American citizens by physical force." So. Yeah, that's I have seen that as well. I don't think there's any thing said about peaceful people being arrested. I haven't heard anything about that yet. That's true, Sensei. Yeah, that's true. That's why, like, when I sit here and talk about this, like, I'm not surprised by any means. Like, I knew this was coming. Kamala Harris told us this was coming. Like, it's not a surprise, but it's just, it's still this, like, of course, like, emotional feeling toward it, that it's disappointing still. It's still not going to change my conventional weak heart from being disappointed by it nonetheless. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really hitting the fan. It didn't hit the fan before. Like, the inflammation has been caused due to the deployment of the National Guard and the Marine Corps, because it was completely under control. You can watch the videos. You can see that, of course, the destruction, again, that is something that these people, they're being handled. They need to be handled. They need to go out there and handle those people that are destroying it, and they're doing that. But the peaceful protesters have not. The police had completely surrounded the federal building. You could see from the helicopter footage that there was no destruction on the building. There were no people, harmed that entered or exited the building. These things, like, so there, and that was like that from the beginning. There was never a reason to deploy these forces. That is just a fact. When you really look at the videos, that is a fact. Um, by you know, like I said, it's just just to inflame the situation is why this is deployed. You can see in any other times when we had any, virtually any president, that protests, you know, protests are protests. These are things that we have to do in order to change, suppression and oppression from the government. We have to go against it because we as people have to unite. Um, Anybody that has been rioting and looting and destroying things and harming people, they have been individually taken down and arrested. So, and continue to be so, without, without, like I said, by the police, like there was no necessity. There was enough police force to arrest the people that have been looting and rioting and are still arresting. There is no necessity for the numbers of National Guard and Marine Corps to be there. Um, so I disagree because I truly, so I agree in the sense that, like, Kamala, just as an example, because she was the last one running for president besides Trump, is also not a person that has an actual grip on the situation that low class Americans find themselves in, like myself. Okay, because almost all the politicians are very rich, filthy rich people. So they fail to understand anything, that we go through. However, they are still on the side, on the spectrum of trying to figure that out, trying to understand, and trying to work in that direction. That is the least that they do, and that is the difference between the left side and the right side, is that the left side is willing to incorporate even the people that are against them. They are willing to represent the entirety of America, not just a portion that, not just the portion that voted for them, not just the portion that, they are willing to fight for all Americans, even the Americans that use their right, their, state given right to vote against them, and they are willing to even fight for them. That is one of the major, differences here. And we've seen this over and over again when you look through history, when you look at Democratic presidents versus Republican presidents. Now, unfortunately, it's always been those two big parties. The other, smaller parties never really stood much of a chance in this aspect because not enough people, were following, but so it's like, you can time and time again see that, the majority of good things that were implemented for all people were always done by the Democratic presidents, never by the Republican presidents. The Republican presidents are very known and very notorious for taking things away from citizens rather than embracing and helping and supporting, and stopping things and, regulating things and things like that. It is, I mean, it's just facts. That's just what we see. We can see it by, how things are. So, a big difference, it still is. Even so, there's still a certain lack of understanding, even by the politicians that are for all the people, because they have never been in the position themselves. So it is kind of one of those things, like, if you haven't been there, you don't really know, right? You can still try, and that's good, but you really don't know. But at least you try. At least you're trying to make a difference. At least you're trying to change things. The Democrats have been trying to implement immigration reform for decades and decades, and every time it goes through Congress or the Senate, and it gets canceled by the Republicans. Every single time. And every single time, people like myself, normal, non-criminal people that are seeking a future here and seeking a life here get screwed up in the fucking ass every fucking time. Because we can see by the data that most people here that don't have papers, they are not criminals. They do not criminalize themselves. It is the opposite of what people think, because people like us, we are very cautious because we know what's at stake for us. We know not to criminalize ourselves. So 98% of the people that are here are just like me, trying to make a life because their country does not provide opportunity and chance for them such as this country does. And that's why we're here. The 2% that are criminals and that are violent criminals against women and children, those are people that need to be arrested. Those are people that need to be turned away at the borders. They need to be turned away at the airports. They usually can't even fly anyway because they can't get a passport and things like that. And when they do, it's immediately determined that's fake, and they're not even let into the country. That's what is not really talked about. What is already, done about these things. When it comes to immigration. What is this? Go away. Yeah, because usually the things that, okay, so Biden was, these are the things. When things are being done in silence, like it's like things that are constructive for things are usually done in silence, and then they pass legislation and nobody talks about them, right? But the things that are negative, of course, everybody talks about them, right? Because so and that brings me to, because Biden did try to to Biden tried to implement police reform. Biden tried to implement immigration reform. Biden actually was able to implement a stay in place visa for people like myself, which I applied for and qualified for, but then subsequently was denied and revoked because of one of Trump's executive orders against immigration policy. So I'm living proof right here that Biden did try things. Biden did try to change things for the better for people like myself, and it was shot down by House Republicans. On the other hand, also the things that Republicans try to implement are usually passed, unfortunately, because not many Democratic leaders possess the backbone to speak against it and to defend us. They are more worried about their own lives and their own money, for them to go against us. So usually, what Republicans apply for, it gets passed. The things that don't get passed are things that are a blatant violation of the Constitution and human rights. Those are things that don't get passed when these certain Democratic or these certain Republican senators and governors wake up and see and finally smell the coffee and see, oh shit, okay, well, we cannot let that pass because that's really just like straight up not okay. So these are the things that are not being passed, luckily, because these are just like I said before, you can see the similarities, like what's happening in this country to the similarities of how these things started to form and started to begin in the beginning of the reign of National Socialism in Germany. You guys know that my great grandfather was in 5 concentration camps. My great grandfather was German, not Jewish, not from a different country, nothing. And that's where these things started to begin, when even the citizens of Hitler's own nation were then being, their rights being violated. This is the same example we see here now too. Um, when you put every action that Trump has done so far, and there was a time where I thought Bush was bad, but Bush really is nothing compared to what Trump does. Like, really nothing. Like, he's actually, like, I mean, like, I don't know, he's definitely not that. But the comparison between Trump and Hitler is, yeah, it's very, like, textbook, like how these things start, how they progress, how it keeps going, and how it just gets worse. Because this violation of human rights is not just going to stop at women, or it's going to stop at immigrants. It's not going to stop. It's going to keep closing in until it's wrapped around every single person, because it's not about bettering anything for the majority. It's about shrinking it down so that only the wealthy and the certain people in the certain circle have what they want, and the rest of the world is in ashes and burnt, basically. That is the definition of dictatorship, and it is the exact, like, you can see Vladimir Putin, he does the same thing. You could see it over and over again. The same, like, when you look at what's happening, you don't need to look at the news. You need to just look at the world and what is happening around you in the world. I mean, you can see it by going to the DMV. You can see it by, grocery shopping. You can see it by trying to make build a company. You can see it with everything. You can read it in books. It's very plain to see. When you stop just believing what's on the surface and actually go deeper into it, it's very easy to see the patterns. That's the word. It's patterns that have been happening throughout decades, and so. Yeah, that happens too. That happens too. I agree with that. Yep, and I agree with that. I agree with that too. Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. 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 100%. 100%. It's yeah, because it's, and I wonder why, I wonder where that stems from, that we have this mentality, you know what I mean? Because it's like, why? It's the only explanation I have is that anybody that's ever strived to just, have power and power over other humans, is because they were violated themselves by other humans at some point, right? So bullied in some way, or felt disrespected in some way. So ultimately they result into being this power hungry person, that all that person wants to do is rule over other people and violate other people, because that is how they felt, and that is what was done to them. Now, that was, but that doesn't ring true, I feel like that doesn't ring so much true for modern society as it does for, like, um, ancient society, for instance. I think modern society is their attitude of power is based on their inherent entitlement, because they have never been in a position where they had to work for for anything, you know, where they have just been inherently rich, and so they have no understanding, but it is rooted and based in fear. They are extremely fearful of their, you know, whatever they have being taken away, versus understanding that that's not the case, and that they should use their influence, their money, and their power to help others, you know, and then that would also decrease their chance of anything being taken away. You know, if they show compassion and if they show support and help, then, you know, like, but for some reason they're so paranoid and so rooted in this thing that somebody is against them and is trying to get to them, that they have no room in their head for you know, this type of attitude. It's really weird. It's really bizarre, like, looking at these people, and how they act and what they do. But that's what I mean, like, it's for these rich people, these people that will never have to work, these people that their multiple generations down the line of their family won't even have to work. What are they worried about survival for? That's what I don't understand. Like, because they really don't need to work, because the world revolves around money. That is just the truth, and they have enough money to not have to fight for survival, because the amount of money that they have is so much that it just multiplies on its own, and it doesn't actually deplete. But because they live outside their means, it depletes. Yes, of course. But if they lived within their means, they would be fine forever. So it is not a struggle to fight for survival. It is a struggle to fight for survival for us, for people like us, but not for people like them. So that's why the situation is so bizarre to me, that they are so over the top paranoid of things that are not there. Things are not happening. Things that they are doing. They're paranoid about others doing to them. And that's what's so scary. They are so blind and ignorant and uneducated to anything around them, to the simplest, like, things around them, that they cannot even understand that they live in a delusion, and they live in a paranoid delusion. And these are the people that are in charge of us. That's not good. Luigi Mangione. Yes. I believe that's who you're talking about right now. That's a very delicate topic. Because, of course, there's two sides to that for me personally, right? There's the one side, the side of empathy and compassion that says, you know, like, he murdered somebody. Plain and simple, right? He murdered somebody. Doesn't matter. He murdered somebody. Now, conventional society feels that that's horrible. They feel that's horrible because it's an act of violence. They feel it's horrible because he was taken away from his children. They feel it's horrible because his life was ended. Okay, I have complete understanding for that, right? I have a complete understanding. My emotional feelings toward it are also connected there. However, is that not an act of survival right there, though? Is that not an act of survival? Is that not the tiger eating the prey, because if it didn't, the prey would eat him, right? So, you know, on the other hand, I sit here and I say to myself, it can be viewed as an act of, you know, him sacrificing not just that guy's life, but his own life in order for the world to awaken. You know, politicians have waged greater wars. Politicians have killed more people for their own agenda, which never had anything to do with their folk or their people. Politicians have murdered millions of people pitted millions of people against each other and killed each other for nothing, for political reasons, for their agendas. Okay? Unless we're talking about people defending their own rights and and politicians defending their people's rights for freedom and whatever. Those are different things. For instance, like Ukraine defending themselves against invasion of Russia, right? But that one death is being so exploited. This one death by this one person committed, or of this one person committed by this one person, is so exploited, right? Now, in one sense, in a good way, exploited, right? Because that is how these things are being awakened. That is how things are being, that's how they start being talked about and everything, the issues that we're facing in the world, right? But then on the other hand, exploited by the political lawmakers to the right to make him look like a monster. But why? Because he killed a rich man. He killed one of their people. He killed one of their people. So that's why they're mad. Because the left, we're not that mad, bro. We're not that mad. Because it's like, we need to start somewhere. We need to start somewhere. And he did that. He did that. He started it. He started one of those things. I don't know. Because I understand that it's sad. It's sad. There's no, that's why you don't see me out there doing it. Because, it's, for me, I'm still so weak in my little heart that I believe that there are other ways. We can do it in other ways. We have to come together. We have to do it in other ways. On both ends, you know what I mean? We have to just do it in other ways, because we don't live in those times anymore, right? We don't live in those primitive times anymore. If we take aspects of the things that our ancestors did and implement them into our daily lives, I think a lot of that is missing. And I think I agree with it that we should. But there are other things that we need to go away from, right? We need to go away from violence. We need to go away from wars. Okay, that is, it's just, it's completely futile. It has not led to anything. Pretty much ever. And it's like, it's only about acquiring property and acquiring power and money and all that bullshit. It has nothing to do nowadays war. It has nothing to do with fighting for your people's rights, for politicians. It has nothing to do with that. Like I said, unless you're a country that's being invaded by somebody else and for property and gain of land and all that bullshit, then yes, you must fight against that, of course, because you're defending the rights of your people. It's just common sense, right? But it's like, we are not primitives anymore. And that's why my mom always had this saying, and it sounded, when I was younger, it sounded so that doesn't make any sense. It sounds way too simple to be but it's actually not that simple. But my mom always said, there wouldn't be any war if nobody would go. That's it. That is just simply it. That goes for every country on the planet. If every country on the planet, every single soldier in every single country said, we are no longer killing each other, nobody would go. And there would be nothing going on. Because the only people that want to wage wars are these politicians. These money-hungry, power-hungry politicians. And we must say, there's only a few of them now. Because we have progressed and we have evolved as a species. So there's only these few dictators that are still left, that are invading these countries because they're seeing that their time is up. Their time's now coming to an end. So they're just trying to wage a little bit more war toward the end of their earthly lives. Because they know that their idealism, their imperialistic way of life is no longer a way of life for the majority of the world. Because we have become a modern civilization. We are no longer a primitive civilization. Most of us, So then we have to look at that too. We have to see that aspect too, that it is not all hopeless. Because in the grand scheme of things, going forward in history, there's wars have become less on in a when you base it in the percentage. Wars have become less, and they're going to become less. Hopefully, the scale shows. But it can always tip. But mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, pussy politicians that are too scared to fight their own wars. Exactly. Yep. 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 Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Of course. Mm, yeah. 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 No, it's completely true. It's 100%, 100%. People are just sitting. That's why I made this speech earlier. Like going back to the beginning. My little speech about people protesting for the rights of myself. Those are people, and like I said, I'm not talking about the rioters, but I'm talking about the majority that's protesting peacefully out there. They are out there. They got off their fucking ass, and they're out there fighting for my rights, because that the hundreds that are there, not every single person has direct contact to somebody in my position, right? So they only know this through, like watching and paying attention and seeing what's going on, and they feel so compelled about this crappy situation that we find ourselves in, that they go out there, even so not their family member is affected by it, not even their friend is affected by it, but they just know that just people that are strangers to them are negatively affected, and their lives is negatively affected by that, and potentially destroyed by these actions of the government. So they go out there and they're fucking fighting for people like me, and they've never met me. And if that's not American, then I don't know what is. These are the people that are not sitting lazy on their asses. These are the people that are not ignoring what's happening. While the majority of America is sitting on their lazy fat asses, on their ignorant asses, and they have no fucking clue and don't give a shit, and keep feeding in to the bullshit that they're watching, that they're being given, that they're into the materialistic aspects of life, because that's all they give a fuck about. They don't give a shit, and only things that affect them, because they don't give two shits. As long as it does not affect them, they don't care. That's really what's the problem. That is the core of the problem. I just recently basically had to tell multiple people in my life. I didn't tell them to fuck off, but I explained to them how they were being. I explained to them that they are not kind humans in any way. Not compassionate, empathetic humans in any way toward me. I can only speak, they can be good to other people, maybe, I don't know, but they were not good to me. They had no care about what is going on with me. When they portrayed and pretended to be people that care for me and about me, their actions have proven very different, So I had to explain that to them. I'm not a person that, tells you fuck you. I don't act like that. I'm not a primitive. I'm a diplomatic person. Although I may use like brasher ways of expressing myself, I still I'm not a person. I will not disrespect you. I will not talk down to you, but I or condescend to you, but I will make clear that you are not being that you don't give a shit about me, and it shows in your actions, and I'm going to call it out. And you know where these people are now? They had nothing to say. They had nothing to say because their lack of empathy, their lack of willingness to understand a situation, and their lack of actually wanting to get off their ass and help. Just me. I'm not asking you to help the world, but I was just, kind of like hoping that they could help me, without me having to ask them and without me having to pull it out of them, but it is obvious in their immediate, okay, like not saying anything in response, or basically saying, do what you want, I'm out of here. That is the portrayal and direct show of their actual feelings. That's their embodiment and their manifestation of their true feelings toward me, which are none. They have no feelings toward me whatsoever. That's why they have not acted. They have talked. All three of these people, there's other people. Well, I think I said actually it's 6 people around, right? 6 people that I had in my life that I thought, no, they were all talk. They were all talk. Pretty much every single one of them. So it's like, okay. It's a hard pill to swallow once again, but that's what I gotta do. I can mourn them. I can sit here and think about, because I chastise myself, right? Because I'm like, you're sitting here thinking about them, and you're like upset about not talking to them and all that shit. And it's like, that's okay. That's okay. I can be that because it will pass. It will pass. Time will take the pain away, and time will make you understand that, simply put, like somebody else said to me the other day, like, you dodged a bullet. Because in the long run, if there were more extreme situations or other extreme situations, they would have faltered just as much under the pressure of trying to be there, pretending to be there for me, So although it happened a little too late as I would have liked it to, it still happened early enough for me to be able to move on pretty much unscathed, and in like a couple months from now, I won't even think about that person anymore. You know what I mean? But it is, it does suck because you did live in a little bit of a bubble. You did live in a little bit of a delusion to think that they might not be like that. Give them time, give them chance, give them another chance, give them another chance to prove themselves. But every single time, one person I had known like kind of like less than a year. Another one of the so kind of rip the band-aid off, quickly. Another person I've known for over 12 years, almost like 15 years. And they've had not just 3 chances, they've had about a dozen chances, and I gave it to them every time. I'm like, bro, fuck, so yeah, it doesn't get easier. It does get less surprising, like, it doesn't stir when it first happens. It doesn't stir in me much at all because I fucking, like, I'm used to it, but it doesn't change the feeling that you have, of having believed that somebody cared about you. Simply put, like, believe that somebody gave a shit about you to find out that they didn't. It's like, alright, damn. You were dumb again, Jenny. God damn it. No, it's true. I agree with that too. But I do believe, because I do have a couple of people in my life where the pain will always be there, and I haven't seen them in like 10 years, right? But the pain will always be there when I think about these people. However, it does change over time. I think, for me at least, it was this way where, like, if I think about this particular person, it has changed over time, that it has not become a part that causes me panic anymore. Okay, that's the whole thing. Like, the anxiety, it does no longer cause me anxiety, the pain of losing them and the pain of how they treated me, right? Because time has, put this distance between me and that person, has put this real distance there, and that helped the anxiety. Now, with these current people in my life, particularly one person, the anxiety is still there, right? Because it's pretty fresh. Like with that one person, this is all, it's less than a week basically. You know what I'm saying? So it's very fresh. So the anxiety and the panic about it is still holding me to that person. Whereas my brain and my logic has set in. My heart, but my logic and my brain has set in. They have now pushed the heart to the side and said, okay, look at what's in front of you and look what's happening to you. And take that and validate that, and let your logic do the math and see this is who they are, and you have to distance yourself now, and distance yourself by letting time pass. There's no communication between me and that person now, because I have no reason to reach out to them any longer, because I am not going to. I have there's no reason for me to, right? Because this person, first of all, they don't want me in their life. That's very obvious. Second of all, I'm not going to sit here and chase a snake that bit me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how, a person that has hurt me now multiple times. Like I said, they've had like their 3 strikes. They're basically out now. They've done this multiple times now. There's been a pattern to their actions. The words have always been of manipulation and making, saying words that will make something appear in a different light, right? To manipulate me. These things are over now. I'm putting time between me and that person. That time will resolve this anxiety and that panic that's connecting me to that person, But time is sometimes your enemy and sometimes your friend. It's like a love-hate relationship, you know what I mean? So that at this moment, time is my friend. Time is my friend, with this particular situation. Not when it comes to growing wrinkles and getting old and gray hair, but or other things for that matter. But with this thing, like when it comes to resolving your panic and anxiety, that tears at your heart with other people, the only thing that helps is time. So I have to let it play its role, and I have to let it play, play out. I try to stop it all the time, because I sit there and I believe, that time will put, this distance between me and a person, and I don't want the distance there. But it's not about what I want, it's about what's good for me. And what's good for me is often not what I want. But in the long run, what is good for me, I have to let my logic prevail over my little weak heart. Yeah, the pain's still there. The pain's still there. Because, each and every person, they have hurt you in a different way too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that every person hurts you in the same manner. The one person hurts you because they flat out lied to you, for instance. Another person because they manipulated you. Ultimately, all of them didn't care about you. That's the ultimate pain, out of all of it. That's the foundation and the baseline for everything that they did, of course, but in the way they did it, yeah. So that's one of those things, like, because you can think back at each person that has hurt you and manipulate or hurt you, and you can see, oh, this person just went straight behind my back and did this shit behind my back. This person lied me right in the face. This person used words to manipulate me to believe something. This person ignored me. This person harassed me. Like, there's so many different ways that this person flat out abused me mentally or physically. So yeah, it always sucks, bro, but yeah, that's true. That's true. I agree with that too. I think so too, that people always say, like, oh, when you love somebody, like, no, I get that. I've been there too, right? But as you become, more, you know, you as your existence, becomes more into shape because of pain that you've been through, or of good things that you've been through, whatever, the way you become somebody, you start to understand exactly that those two go hand in hand. Logic and emotion go hand in hand, um, because they have to. Because if they don't, then you're going to be completely oblivious and you're just going to be fucking just completely destroyed, rather than seeing signs early on and moving away from that, before it gets too late. When I was in my 20s, boo, man, I fucking just, like, logic out the window completely. Now I'm in my 30s, and although I still give chances because I still have hope, I do know when to put it. I do know, like, okay, enough is enough. Like, you go to here and no further with me, and it is what it is. But my mother was always very good at it. My mother, I think I'm starting to realize as I'm older, the things that I looked at my mother negatively about, it wasn't really the things that she was doing or saying, or his dismissive attitude toward it when she explained to me, but it was that she I think she just didn't know how to explain these things to me, right? Because my mom was a person that was put things very simply, right? She did not sit there and dissect it. She put it simply. She's like, okay, so for instance, like a relationship, a guy or whatever. Okay, so you're sad because he broke up with you, or you guys are no longer okay. So what? Ignore it. I'm like, Mom, like, I can't. Well, you have to. Like, my mom wouldn't even let me finish the sentence. Like, you have to. Like, your logic is showing you right now he does not give a shit about you. You see what he's doing. That is showing you that he's not caring about you. So what, you're going to run after somebody that doesn't care? No. You just got to turn off your feelings. Well, how do you do it? You just got to do it. There's no, like, you just do it. She would never explain these things like, okay, I sit here too and have the pain go through me and think about that person. That's okay. But no, she never did that because she wanted me to be even tougher than her, is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Not, maybe I was wrong by saying that she didn't know how to explain it. She didn't want to explain it. Because my mother was a highly intelligent person, but she didn't want to explain it because she didn't want me to be like her. She didn't want me to be there and sit there and have this internal suffering. She wanted me to be able to make myself shut off my feelings. That's what she wanted me to do. She wanted to toughen me up. That's why she didn't explain that little, that's why she didn't explain it in a compassionate and empathetic way to me, but she explained it to me, or in an understanding way, she explained it to me as an order, like a military order, basically, like, cut off your feelings, shut off your feelings, and that's that. So as I grow as a woman, as a person, as a human, I understand that most of the battles that we fight are now in a non-primitive world, less physical, but more internal, and that they are the hardest battles that we can fight, really, nowadays, because it is about emotional warfare rather than physical warfare. Which that's why it puts me in this horrible fucking timeline, because like I'm not good at that emotional warfare shit. I'm good at physical battle. I'm not good at emotional warfare, right? I don't belong in this time. This is not my time here. I'm Viking. Like, I'm meant to travel the world and see the world and fight for my rights physically, and I'm put in a time, in a political place in time that I have no place. I'm out of place. I'm a glitch, so I cannot unfold my life, because connections with people were also different back then. They were strong connections. Once a person made a connection with somebody, it was a strong connection. Why? Because there was always a danger of losing that person in their life to death, in battle, in famine, in disease. We do not face these challenges any longer. So you make a connection with somebody, you break it off, and it's like, man, it doesn't matter. That person's not dead. They're somewhere. So whatever, who cares? There's no actual genuine connection to people, between people any longer. And that's also why I don't believe in this time. Or, I mean, I don't believe in this time, but what I meant to say, that I don't belong in this time. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. I agree. That is the big difference. That's the different world we live in now. And the fact that you sit here right now, and you would probably in your direct circle only would have one other person that will fight by your side, which would be me, right? Because the majority of people does not want to fight anymore. They want to remain in ignorance, because ignorance is bliss. They want to remain in their little dream world. They don't want to wake up. They want to sit there, go to work, and get as much materialistic gain as they can, to have the little bit of dopamine exertion that they can that musters for them, and that's all they do anymore. That's it. you know so you know yeah, it's sucky. It's really sucky, but it is what it is, man. That is our battle. That is our war that we fight. Being alone. That is the war that we fight. Is that you know the small percentage of us people on the planet that understands what we need to fight for, and that it's not just all about ourselves, that we need to fight for other people's rights and other creatures' rights, not just our own. That's the difference. These are the different people. People that think it is only about themselves, those are the people. Like I said, the people that are not directly affected by anything. And even if they, I mean, even some people that are directly affected by things, even they remain in ignorance and they falter, and they don't rise to the challenge or to the task, because it's not meaningful enough to them. Because to them, video games, and to them, eating and going out and fucking doing whatever else they're doing, that's more important to them. No, I understand, but I'm just saying, like, what in technicality, you know what I'm saying? Like, in technicality, and in for me, not just in technicality, but in the broadest sense, like, I will be there. I will help you because I want to, because I want to fight for you too. You know, because what's happening to me, I would never want this on other people, on other people that are kind and compassionate and that are empathetic and that are people that are doing constructive things in the world. I want to protect them. You know. Mhm. Mhm. Right. 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 That's true. That's true. All right. I'm getting a little hungry now. It's time. It's time. I haven't eaten anything. I'm gonna have to try to fucking dig and find something. Um. But yeah. I'm gonna be back. I don't even know what time it is right now. Oh, 4:20. Okay. So I'm gonna be back later tonight for sure. I gotta eat something and I gotta exercise. Uh, and then whatever. But I will definitely be back later tonight, and then hopefully I see you then, Pain, and I hope maybe I'll see more people here on TikTok. Another slow TikTok stream, but I'll be back later. So until then, as usual, I want to say, don't forget to mourn those that are in spiritual turmoil, um, and help the cause and stop reproducing. Okay, and until tonight, I say tschüss, zdravo, and bye. And thank you, Pain. I'll see you hopefully tonight.